organization that's in crisis, where where things aren't going well, that it can be very stressful. That you feel an obligation as an independent director to make sure that you are making decisions that are in the best interest of the shareholders. But you have employees who may lose their job because of decisions that you have to make to keep the corporation going on a path. And there's not always agreement among the board members as to what the path should be. And so it can be a very stressful time when that takes place.
Hiring, putting the right personnel and the right leadership in place is one of the biggest challenges, and also one of the most rewarding things about being on the board. If the organization gets itself in trouble in one way or another, there's a lot of responsibility on the board member to really buckle down and make sure that the right decisions are made in some very difficult circumstances. And in some cases, that could be getting rid of that leader, you know.
Everyone has a unique ability. They have some uniqueness to them. So what is that uniqueness? That, I think, determining what your unique abilities are, if somebody can do that, then they can take it anywhere.
If you're going to be working for somebody, try to exceed expectations. You know, too many people today, they show up, get their time, and they leave, but they don't really try to exceed expectations. And I think that's very important if you want somebody to look at you and say, this individual has potential to be moving on to something else. You know, I'm a firm believer that sometimes common sense in business is as important as, education is important, no misunderstanding. But I've seen educated idiots that they couldn't carry on a good conversation. So I really believe that common sense and people skills, you know, the ability to deal with people is very important if you're going to be on the front line.
Get engaged, maybe you end up serving on the board, and that experience ultimately is transferable back into your business experience.
When you volunteer on a nonprofit, when you're young, you get the grunt jobs, and ultimately you get to move up the ladder. But you start out as you know, just volunteering, and you get to rub elbows and interact with these people, and some of them take you under their wings.
I think it's incredibly important, and it's a great way for younger people that are growing in the business world, to learn how boards operate, to learn how to work with people they don't know, and to learn different leadership skills in different industries and all kinds of stuff.
Skills, that's general, but communication and the ability to pick and choose who that person surrounds themselves with to lead the organization. If they don't have the right team, it's going to, if they don't, they won't be able to go nowhere. So they have to have a broader set of skill sets as leadership, and then under that leadership comes the ability to pick and choose the right people to move that organization forward.
So I'm a little concerned about some of these young kids today that everything's on the iPod or whatever, and they don't talk with one another. They're not developing people skills that I really think they should develop. And the other thing is to always deal with people fairly and squarely, treat them with the right ethics and integrity.
We want those people that want to share some of their success and give back to the community. That's very important to us.
Wanting to have a board where people get along, and people that you can work with, that you share a common vision with. It's kind of painful to have to sever somebody from your board, and so they're almost always reappointed. And so it is just so important to make good board decisions up front, rather than having to deal with somebody that's a bad decision later on.
Now one person has all the skill sets needed. That's the reason you have different people, different skill sets on the board.
So you've got that tension. You have to be externally competitive to be able to attract and retain. But if you don't make internal equity, you've got internal tensions. And so as a firm, you've got to decide which one are you going to really let you guide you in your process. And we're more and more, I think, once again, based on the competitiveness of the world, being forced to let external equity drive the compensation, which will give you much bigger differentiation within your organization and create more internal equity tension.
Or someone outside your organization that knows you well enough, and they can be a coach. They can tell you how your organization works that may not be apparent in the org chart. And they can guide you and sometimes even shield you from others, and it'll make a big difference in your career.